I'm going to tell you a story about a wind-surfing angel that was part of the early Christian church. Really, a wind-surfing angel. Now, this angel wasn't maybe a major player in the early Christian church, but did have a cameo role in the story I'm going to tell. So listen carefully.
It's a story about two real friends, Rebecca and Rita, who went looking for the story of Jesus. Rebecca and Rita wanted to know for themselves what it was like over 1,000 years ago when Jesus' followers were talking about Jesus in early Christian churches. They were puzzled about why the story of the death of Jesus was so much a part of the Christian church. Rita and Rebecca decided to look at the pictures and the art that the early Christians had created to tell about Jesus. They first traveled from California to Italy in search of this story. They began in Rome, descending from the blaze of the summer sun into the catacombs, underground tunnels and tombs, carved into the soft rock. The earliest Christian art was painted on these walls as a decoration for the graves.
In the cool, dimly lit caverns, they saw pictures from Bible stories. The images were peaceful and suggested rescue from danger. There were pictures of Abraham and his son Isaac standing side by side in prayer. There was a picture of Jonah, the young man who was swallowed by the whale, but he was taking a nap by the shade of a vine. Daniel stood alive and well, right next to two gentle lions. Jesus appeared as a child and also as a shepherd carrying a lamb on his shoulders. The early Christians seemed to be celebrating a peaceful existence among all creation in their art. But do you know what surprised Rebecca and Rita the most? There was not one picture of a dead Jesus in these early churches.
They traveled to Istanbul and then to a remote corner of Turkey where there were crumbling remains of 9th and 11th century monasteries high in the mountains. Again, there was not one picture of a dead Jesus anywhere.
When they visited the San Giovanni Basilica, the official seat of the Pope, what they saw astonished them. At the top of the ceiling, Jesus gazed down, serious and dignified. His golden halo outlined his face against a dark blue background strewn with bright red and blue clouds. Below this crescent of sky, the ceiling was sparkled in gold like the light of a dawn sky. A dove emerged head down. From its beak, a pale stream of water poured downward and fell slowly, creating a pool at the base of a golden cross. Below the pool, 4 rivers flowed like roots, each carefully labeled so no one would mistake them. Pishon, Gihon, Tigris, and Euphrates. These are the names of the rivers of paradise that are named in the book of Genesis. There was a little golden city nestled by these rivers as if protected by them. And then the rivers merged with the River Jordan. This one great river flowed out through the bottom of the ceiling into a lush meadow, dotted with birds and flowers. And the river itself, in that river, swans paddled peacefully. And are you ready for this? A couple of angels were fishing from a boat. And another swam in the waves. And a 5th angel was shown windsurfing on these waves. Can you imagine that? In a basilica where Pope resided daily.
Rita and Rebecca finally understood what the pictures were telling them. The early Christians believed they stood in paradise. Paradise. Cosmos of stars in midnight skies, golden sunlight, sparkling meadows teeming with fish, exuberant fauna, and green meadows filled with flowers and fruit trees.
To their surprise and delight, they discovered that for early Christians, paradise was something other than heaven and some afterlife. In our modern lives, we've been trained to think of paradise as a world after death, someplace somewhere else. But in the early church, the early church, paradise was in this world, permeated and blessed by the love of God. It was on this earth. It was in the clear night skies and the teeming trees of the Mediterranean world, as if they were lit by a power within. Rebecca and Rita unlock a new way of understanding the teachings of Jesus, one that affirmed that life in this world is sacred and worthy.
Today, many of our Christian cousins are talking about the meaning of the death of Jesus. As Unitarian Universalists, we recognize that there is another way to look at Jesus' life and teachings, one which celebrates the life we have here and now. Biblical teachings are one of the many sources that we draw upon to celebrate life's mysteries and bring meaning to our lives. That's why these findings of Rebecca and Rita are so important.
Now let's go back one more moment to Rebecca and Rita in the Mediterranean. One of the pictures they found was a picture created in 425. And it was Jesus praying in a prayer position they call the Orant prayer position. It's a posture of strength and openness, with arms stretched out as if embracing the cosmos. I want to invite you to try that with me now. Stand up if you will. Please stand. And I invite you to reach towards the cosmos, bending your elbows as if you are embracing the sky. Let yourself experience what that feels like in your heart. Now, when I was a child in my Catholic church, we were taught to kneel, to clasp our hands, and to hold our head down. I want to invite you to try that as well, perhaps without the kneeling. Or try another prayer position you might have had in your youth. Just give that a try for me, what that feels like. Can you tell the difference in your body between this prayer and this prayer? Now, while there are times when we may be remorseful and when you may be seated and want to shrink down in humility, and that's important to be able to do, there are times when this prayer is the most appropriate prayer for our hearts. It's also so nice to know that our early Christian ancestors also used prayer to open themselves up to the majesty of the cosmos. This Orant prayer was a source of strength and connection to all of life, a recognition of paradise, even in the midst of all the trials that this life might offer. From this place of openness, I invite you to join me in our next hymn.